Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the universe, this is RosterWatch. My name is Alex Dunlap. I'm joined by Cody Carpentier live here at SEC Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia. Getting to check out some of the fantasy contributors of the future here and just kind of trying to stay hyper-informed and keep you as hyper-informed as we are with all this stuff. And Cody, it's going to be a little bit of a quicker show today. We put up the tight end strength of schedule tool over at rosterwatch.com over the weekend. I wanted to get tight end and quarterback up. I just didn't have time before we flew out. But so far we have running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end. As I was going through it, there were a couple things that I noticed from the tight end strength of schedule projections from last year that didn't turn out as good as some of the other positions. So I went and tweaked a few things with it. I went back to something that we were doing prior to last season that I liked better with it. But what we turned out getting here.
Before you get into this, you teased the audience with saying we're here watching the fantasy contributors of tomorrow, and then didn't say a single player's name.
Okay, well, we got to see Lenore Sellers today from South Carolina, the quarterback.
Is he the number one? We got Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, Diego Pavia, who self-proclaimed might be the best of all of them.
Well, he's certainly a GOAT, dude.
And then Austin Simmons, who I'm kind of sold on.
Who just walked by.
I'm getting sold more. He's a left-handed quarterback from Ole Miss.
I mean,
an interesting group.
He's like I don't know why I get all these comparisons to Tua. And you're just like, well, for one, you look just like Tua. For two, he's
left-handed.
He's left-handed.
And you're about the same height.
Yeah, it's like
you're a quarterback.
It's like Dylan Gabriel saying, "I don't know why they compare me to Tua." It's like, you're a left-handed Hawaiian dude. It's like, but yeah, Austin Simmons certainly some interesting guys. Of course, tomorrow we're gonna get
Arch Mania.
We'll get Arch Manning. I think we got Georgia tomorrow too. So it's going to be fun, man. And we'll keep you guys updated on that through all of this. But anyway, just getting back to the tight end strength of schedule.
I always love throwing you a little curveball.
Well, let me throw you a curveball. What are we gonna do with Quinshon Judkins?
I thought you were gonna say Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with Quinshon Judkins? Well, without getting too much into the mud with this, man, I feel like, and this is kind of like, I'm going to say this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I don't care. I feel like a lot of these situations off the field, and everybody should know if they don't know what the Quinshon situation is, go look it up. I'm not going to speak on it because I am not going to get in trouble with some legal stuff. If it's usually the thing that happened with him, which is
he's accused of a domestic incident. Yep.
Usually, and my first thought is if there's no video, he's probably going to be fine, which is a horrible thing to think in any facet of that situation. But for our term and our fantasy football term, if there's no video, it's going to take a long time to go through the court, go through the legal process, unless the team steps up and takes initiative, which it's the Cleveland Browns, who just paid Deshaun Watson $250 million.
Guaranteed.
Is this now going to be we just view things a certain way, we're going to continue to just let due process take its way with Quinshon Judkins, or are they going to react and say, no, we may be overstepped with Deshaun Watson. We need to self-impose a something, with Quinshon Judkins. I think that'll be the most interesting thing. And with camp starting in 2 weeks,
I forgot what the whole Kareem Hunt arc was, but was there video with
Kareem Hunt's was video? Kareem Hunt's was video that came straight from the hotel. I don't think it was within like a week or two, though. It was a little bit of time before it came out.
Right.
It was a TMZ deal, right?
Yeah, but I was trying to think of his career arc and what that did with where that was with Cleveland. How much Cleveland would have ended up caring about that. I forgot. Was that the thing that sent him out of Kansas City?
Yes.
And so
that was after year one, going into year.
No, it had to have been after year two.
Was it year two?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. So
19,
year two, it looks like. Anyway, so I don't think Cleveland cares much about it. So,
but from a drafting perspective for us, is that do we have to look at it as just a hands off, and we have to be like, all right, let's don't overstep too much on our love for Dylan Sampson, and Jerome Ford's going to have a role there if this is the two-man set. But they drafted Quinshon and Sampson. So does that mean that they're going to go out and give a couple $1 million to Fat Lenny?
No, man, you keep on saying this. There's not going to be. I don't.
Listen, man, you
I
doubted me last year with Devontae Adams. Fat Lenny will be on a roster this year.
Okay. Well,
I bet you a beef rib.
Yeah, he's not going. I'm sure he will be at some point, but it's like I don't think that that's going to be any kind of viable. It's not going to be any kind of viable option for anybody.
But
right
it's
now.
not about it's about being viable. It's about being an interim thing.
Yeah, I get it. I think with Judkins right now, I think that probably the best thing to do, and I don't know where the ADPs as far as average ADPs go. Where is like Tyrone Tracy going in relation to?
Isn't he like 10?
So as far
104 underdog,
104 on underdog, but he's going higher on like ESPN, Best Ball 10s, FFPC, going in the 90s for those. Quinshon, so he's going well after Quinshon because Quinshon is more like he's
70s?
like 60 something, yeah, 65. 60s. So I don't know. There was something interesting when I was vacationing in a part of the world that I've never vacationed before, up in the Northeast, and talking with somebody close to the Giants, actually on the Giants staff. I was asking him about Tyrone Tracy and Camp Scadaboo and sort of what to expect of this. Man,
who?
I got a whole lot of stuff about how they haven't really seen Scat yet, but they're how excited they are about him being like the personal protector on punt team, and about him being I was told he's actually going to be like one of their backup punters for real. Like they say he's actually a guy who can punt. I wouldn't be surprised if they have some kind of packages where they have Scat can do everything, but I was really I'm just like, well, what about as a runner? He's like, well, he'll be our short yardage runner.
This is not exactly the guy you want to be spending a second-round rookie pick on, or any. This is not the quote you want to hear either. Personal protector, backup punter.
I'm not
short yardage
here's
gainer.
The thing, but the other thing was as the conversation went on. Well, as the conversation went on, though, it was clear. Like I'm not all the way out on Scadaboo at all.
Yeah,
because I think that he has asymmetrical upsides because of his do-it-all ability. He's a great receiver. I get it, but here's the thing: Tyrone Tracy is too. He's a good receiver. He's a good back. They like him. He's RB1, and so I made some moves on the cheat sheet with Tyrone Tracy because I want to get some Tyrone Tracy now. I think for right now, taking guys like Tracy, maybe Brian Robinson Jr.
I like B-Rob
over Quinshon just for now, but I don't think you got to be all the way out on Quinshon. It also makes me just a little bit.
We're out for now until it becomes a value.
Yeah, right. Well, not completely out, right? But yeah, I think if it falls to eighth round, ninth round, I think that's feels a little bit more suitable to me than what we're talking 65. So we're talking mid 65 time. Yeah, mid sixth. It's I'm not going to be doing that right now. One thing that I didn't think I was going to be doing, getting back to the tight end strength of schedule. And again, for people who don't know, you can go to RosterWatch.com, get a pro membership. You can check out all the strength of schedule tools. You can get the ultimate draft cheat sheet. You can get the dynasty rookie cheat sheet. There's just so much. And then once the season starts, you get the waiver wire cheat sheets. You get the private Q&As with us where we help you with your sit-start decisions. You get the DFS cheat sheets. You get the best ball, not the best ball, but the player prop cheat sheet we're rolling out this year where we hit almost 62% of our picks last season. So make sure and check that out over at RosterWatch.com. Now's the time of year where we need you guys to be signing up. So RosterWatch.com, go get a pro membership. Check this out. But just a couple highlights whenever I look at the strength of schedule stuff. Cody, I've never seen such an outrageously good strength of schedule as I see here for Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons.
Are you in?
I mean, it's like he only has via our metrics. Now it's going to be bad as far as our metrics are concerned down the stretch for weeks 16 and 17. We have those as bottom 12 matchups. But over the course of the season, he doesn't face anything that is – he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 weeks out of the first 14 weeks of the season, and that includes a bye. So basically 9 out of the first 13 games, he has matchups that we see as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projected as top 8 matchups for opposing tight ends. 1, 2, 3, 4 as top 12 matchups. So 9 out of the first 13 games are going to be plus matchups for Kyle Pitts. My only problem is with Pitts, for one, it's Kyle Pitts, right? And for two, it is a situation with Michael Penix where it wasn't like Drake London where we saw the big uptick in targets when Penix came in. It just kind of stayed the same. With that being said, if you look at Pitts' ADP right now,
It's $1.6 billion.
it is
It's $1.6 billion.
155 overall on average across Underdog, CBS, ESPN. We take FFPC out because it's tight end premium. Best Ball 10s, Yahoo, and then we have the stuff also from the draft wizard, the fantasy pros, all that. You take it into consideration. Tight end 18-ish. Now he finished last year as tight. He finished last year as like probably tight. I looked at it as like tight end 22, something like that. But that feels like it's his floor, right at 7.5 fantasy points per game in PPR. So that's not going to get it done. But with this schedule, with the whole offense kind of on schedule to be taking a step forward, what do you think? Or can we get back in on Kyle Pitts at the end of our drafts?
I'm all the way back in on Kyle Pitts. We've been mentioning Kyle Pitts on shows for the better part of the last month and a half. And my biggest thing when I saw this was, holy cow. Because obviously, like, when you guys see this, the strength of schedule tool when it's up on the site, like, it's glaring like boom, boom, like a heartbeat of Kyle Pitts. And you move on down to the bottom, not even no, that be bottom. You move down a couple of rows, and I see a New York Jets schedule on here, and it's all right. It's not bad. It's third, but it's not bad.
That's great.
But towards the end of the season, I see week 14, 15, 16, 17. That's hot, and so my dynasty brain does this, Alex. It goes, all right, I have Kyle Pitts, or if I don't have him, I'm going to try and get him because I love Kyle Pitts this year. I have Kyle Pitts on my roster for 13 weeks, 12 weeks. In dynasty leagues that don't have trade deadlines, because there should never be trade deadlines in dynasty.
Yeah,
you get to that
if you
point,
have a trade deadline, you need to talk to your commissioner.
Right before the playoffs hit, you trade Kyle Pitts for future first-round picks, maybe one, maybe two, and Mason Taylor. But listen, if you're sitting there, listen, this is the thing. It's like people have their preconceived notions of what Kyle Pitts is, but think about week 13 comes around against the Jets, against Mason Taylor. And Kyle Pitts has another 20-point game. And Kyle Pitts is the sitting tight end one in the sport. The sitting tight end one. I'm just giving you a hypothetical here.
You're letting all this SEC propaganda get into your head with Kyle Pitts.
He's the sitting tight end one in fantasy football in week 13 against the Jets. And you trade him for Mason Taylor on the other side of the field, and Mason Taylor goes on the heater to get you to the fantasy football championship.
Mason Taylor does
also
have
SEC.
Mason Tayller has one top 8 matchup and two top 12 matchups to end the season. And it isn't like there's much else there. Something else interesting. 2 teams where there's not much at tight end. So the Chargers and the Dolphins are both up really high too.
Is this Tyler Conklin? It's
Conklin, it's Will Dissly, and it's Oronde Gadsden, who they recently compared to Darren Waller. And then speaking of Darren Waller, you look at the Miami side. All Miami has,
these dudes are free, man.
All Miami had, Darren. I mean, they don't really have anybody besides Darren Waller. They have like Julian Hill and stuff like this.
Durham Smythe still there.
And so, to me, with those 2 teams, I think what this strength of schedule tool takes into account, again, it's not fantasy points allowed from last season. There's a little bit of that, but it's a lot of stuff about our player grades on the players that are going to be defending these guys, the nickel corners, the safeties, the main coverage linebacker, and then we also look at some stats from places like SISS. Some of these fantasy points has a good one right now with their too high middle of field open percentage that is interesting. And so whenever you take those kinds of stats, and those stats all sort of align, and they align also kind of well with the fantasy points allowed from last season. Of course, we're not using it from last season with those teams unless it's the same coordinator. Right. So with certain teams, we're having to go back and look at 2023 at what like Brandon Staley did to be able to apply that to his new team. Mm-hmm. Right. So, but whenever you think about it like that, I kind of think with the Chargers and with the Dolphins, I'm not going to be that interested in getting in on one of their tight ends as much as I'm happy for the Chargers, thinking about the part of the field that the tight ends generally operate in, and thinking about like Ladd, McConkey. how this could be helpful for just thinking about him. And this is just a way to kind of think about the tool. And with the Dolphins, I can't get it out of my head about how this could, if those parts of the field, I kind of think about it for Achane.
Really?
As a receiver. Because whenever Jonnu got shipped off, man, I just that got me pretty hyped for Achane. And I just get to thinking, I'm like, well, if this tool is trying to tell us that the parts of the field where these kinds of defenders are defending against these kinds of routes, and there's not a good tight end, and we're considering the targets to be real consolidated between three dudes, right? Tua, Tyreek, Achane. Who's going to be running those? I guess Waddle, but I mean, for me, Achane comes squarely into focus, and I'm beginning to think more and more. I don't know how much we can move him up on the cheat sheet, but in PPR, I don't know, man. I think in PPR, I think after the number of carries that Derrick Henry had last season, I think I like Achane more for the upside.
I think I get I can get with you there. I can agree with you. I can get with you there on the premise. I think
you should go at the beginning of the second round.
But the problem is that offensive line, man. I still don't trust that offensive line. We haven't got the offensive line stuff dialed in. I've been tooling around, updating some of the players that have retired and some of the players that have moved positions and stuff. But just early looking at it, it does not look. I mean, that's going to be another bottom 10 offensive line, and with an Achane type, like yes, it doesn't matter as long as he's healthy and he's on the field. It can be a CJ2K type season. And the thing with Derrick Henry that we just don't know, we consistently are trying to guess, just like with Tom Brady, is like, is Father Time ever going to catch up with him? Because if it ever does, it could really bring him back down to earth. But if it doesn't, the way that Baltimore offense is built, it's built for him to just be good all year and get stronger and stronger and stronger as the season goes on and just be the big dog.
You know, I get it. I mean, I think both are fine, and I think it's a really tough decision, right? It's tough, but I think Achane. Look, you guys can get the cheat sheet. You can kind of see how we have it. I think that both those guys should go with the 1-2 turn. I think that's where they should both go. I think you're probably, if you've just been playing best ball and you've just been playing on underdog, you're probably like, wait, Alex, but that's too high for Derrick Henry because, you know, underdog. Well, no, he's going to 14 over there, but it's like
CBS got him at 19.
You start looking at like the ESPNs of the world. He's going at 11. You know, he's going at 11 on best ball 10s. CBS at 19. That's pretty interesting. But they have, and so they basically do.
These guys,
the consensus across all of them is Derrick Henry and Devon Achane are back to back. So like not just back to back running backs, back to back players. So
I think honestly, I kind of like the Jonathan Taylor side of that. He's 3 picks later. I kind of like Jonathan Taylor a little bit more than both those guys. If I'm just being straight up honest with you, the offensive line getting a little. I think the offensive line is going to be better this year. It's got Daniel Jones who's going to run the ball. There's a lot of weaponry there.
We'll see if it's Daniel Jones.
Well, I think it will be, but you know, I just think that's an interesting topic as well. But back to the tight end side of things, you had Miami on there and the Chargers. Miami, Darren Waller. I mean, the best he's going to be.
He's too old.
No, but listen. Yeah. I'm not going to say I don't want to draft him. The best he's going to be is what, week 1, 2, 3, because it's probably going to be the healthiest he's going to be all year.
Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be Stone Min tight end on DraftKings.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe it's something where we'll be able to get props on him for over like
19
yards.
Something low like that.
All right. On the other side of the ledger, just a couple things I wanted to ask you about, whether or not this gets you spooked. Kansas City has the 3rd worst strength of schedule via our projections here, and they start out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their first 6 games versus bottom 8 matchups, which I can't believe.
That's
5
brutal.
of the bottom 8 over the first 6 weeks. The Chargers, the Eagles, the Giants. I'm like, the Giants. Are they that?
Okereke.
I said, why are they? But then I looked, and we have players.
McKinney.
We have players on there that are like that we really have ranked pretty highly at those positions. And also, just if you do, I mean, we don't look that much at last year, but if you look at last year, I believe it's the same. Yeah, it's the same defensive coordinator. If you look at last year, middle of the field is never open, and tight ends just didn't score against them. So the Giants, the Ravens, and then the Lions, who were tough against them last year, that should be again. They do have Jacksonville in week 5. at Jacksonville, which shows up as one of only 3 how many positive matchups? 1, 2, 3, 4 positive matchups that we have for them on the whole entire season.
I would tend to say I'm worried because it's like brutal, fast start. Like it's
And
the
also
slowest
he
start of all time, but it's Travis Kelce. And he just operates different on the field. There's a different connection with Patrick Mahomes working across the middle of the field and working out of the slot and working in these different areas. I just think it's a different situation that we cannot take and utilize as, hey, it's a brutal start. Don't get me wrong. If it was Noah Gray, if it was any other tight end in that room, not named Travis Kelce, I think you'd look at it that way.
Finally, your Minnesota Vikings have the most terrible thing I've ever seen as far as this schedule. They have one top 8 matchup in week 3 versus Cincy and a top 12 matchup in week 14 versus Washington. Other than that, on the sheet, it's a sea of red. It's a nightmare of schedule as far as all these. It's kind of in the same way that Atlanta is like, it's like it is significantly – they're significantly better than everybody. Minnesota is significantly worse. Any concerns for you on TJ Hawkinson, who it feels like in some of these drafts, it at least comes in a spot where it kind of feels okay to take tight end. It's always a little bit before Kelce, but it feels kind of okay that the wide receivers that you feel are kind of those good values in the earlier mid rounds are starting to taper off a little bit and not looking as strong. We're talking about an area of drafts where you're seeing players like, you've basically gotten through what we have as a big cluster here of the Jamison Williams and stuff, all the way down to the Jerry Judys and Juwan Jennings and things. Now you're talking more like the Khalil, the Roma Dunzes and the Khalil Shakirs and Brandon Ayuk and stuff like this. It starts to feel like an okay place to be taking a tight end, but how much does this worry you about TJ Hawkinson?
I just get the instant thoughts of the same position and the old team, the Detroit Lions last year, and how brutal and how upset people were that drafted Sam Laporta super high. And it was like a month into the season, and they were like, this dude is doing nothing for my roster. And it feels like that could be the exact spots people are with TJ Hawkinson, where it's like 4 weeks of brutal football, 1 good game. 6 weeks of brutal football, 1 good game, and then just an explosion of crap in the fantasy football playoffs. And it's honestly, it's making me say more Jordan Addison, more Justin Jefferson, and just stay away from TJ Hawkinson.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening